Yo YouTube! This is my video for Monday the 15th of September, and I had a late start this morning. But interestingly, when I looked at the CX, there was 5 jobs that I could have bid on for sort of between about 9 and 10 o'clock. And I bid on a couple of them, but I wasn't quite ready to get those jobs. I wasn't really ready to leave the house, but I could have been on them if I'd been ready earlier. Just quite a lot of work for my area. That's more than I'd usually expect to see at that time of the morning. So by the time I got ready, by about sort of 9:30, I'd put a bid on 3 jobs. One was a Huntingdon to York job with 2 stops, £160. One was a Sleaford to somewhere, I can't remember where, so let's say it was Milton Keynes. It wasn't Milton Keynes, but let's say it was that. I put £190 bid on that, 1 stop. And then there's another job, Sleaford to Northampton, and then Oxfordshire. So 2 stops, long wheelbase van, put £200 bid on that. And the £200 was what I wanted, because it was with a company I'd worked with before. I knew where I was going to pick up from, and I thought that's a decent amount of money for my first job of the day. And I left it, and left it, and left it, and then I got a phone call. And luckily, it was that job, the Sleaford with 2 stops. It's 145 loaded miles, 2 stops, ending up just south-west of Oxford. So I left the house at 9:45, and I've got to be there for 10:20, which will be there, just before about 10:15. I'll be there on time, and then I'm going to have to do this job. So £200 is a nice, very nice job. Particularly bearing in mind I hadn't got anything booked in this morning, and I was a late start this morning. So I should be finished with this job at around about 2 o'clock, and then I've just got to find something heading vaguely towards where I live for around about the £100 mark, and then I'm done for the day. That's probably unlikely, but it's what I'm aiming to do. If I get like a £60 job somewhere towards where I live, that's okay as well, and maybe try and get a little job right at the end of the day. So the way I look at it is, if I get no other work now, I'll get back home reasonably early, and I'll have done 150 for the day net, which isn't a disaster. If I do get another job, I'm going to be pushing towards the 200, maybe even 250 nets for the day, which is exactly what I want to try and achieve. I mean, really, I suppose what I'm saying is my ideal day is 250 nets. A good day for me, which I will accept, be happy with, is anything over 200 nets. And last week I did it, and today I've got a chance of doing it. It's always nice to feel you got a chance. Not quite done all my editing. Well, I've not done any editing for last week yet, so I just do that for Monday tonight before midnight at least, to sort of stay within the parameters I set for myself. So I need to get home, get some bit of editing done, and then I'll be happy with that. But hopefully this week it's going to be similar to last week. I'm really hoping and sort of expecting. I'm really hoping that this week is a similar sort of result to last week, and maybe if we do this for a few weeks, even if it's not forever, that'd be quite a nice bit of relief financially for me. But so far, it's all going as I would hope it would go. So I'll let you know later on today what happens. Cheers. Hello YouTube. Well, I'm halfway through my job now, and I'm on my way to Oxfordshire to finish off my second drop. And I'm going to share with you my experience of my first drop. I'm choosing to not get too uptight about it, because there's no point. But I'm just observing human behaviour. Yeah, I'm just sort of sharing that with you, and just sort of as an observation rather than any kind of necessarily major judgment. So I pulled up to a very tight yard, and there were cars double parked all over the place. There was a little bit of room for me to park my van outside the goods in door. There were 2 goods in doors opposite each other on each side of the yard. It's like a modern industrial estate where you have like units down one side and a road in the middle with some parking inside, and then units down the other side opposite. So this company owned both sides at the end of this yard. And I went to the door C, which is the one I was asked to go to, rang the bell, was pretty much ignored for about 3 minutes. Then somebody came and said, "Are you being helped?" And I said no. Then he rang someone, couldn't get through to them. So then someone walked past and he asked them, "Are you going somewhere?" And he said yes. He said, "While you're there, can you tell them this guy's here to unload?" So I had the verbal confirmation that they were going to see with me, but this guy had got across the other side of the yard and met someone with a forklift. On the other side of the yard, there was a technician in his van blocking the other shutter, and so the guy asked me to pull out into the middle of the yard bit and then wait there while the forklift could come out the other side. So I pulled out, opened my doors, sat at the end, waiting to be offloaded. And then about 10 minutes into it, maybe 5, it felt like 10 minutes, another driver with a Luton and tail lift came down and parked about 1.5 meters behind my van. At the same time this was happening, the technician was moving his van out of the way so that he could get the forklift out. So just as the van arrived and the technician's van had moved aside, the driver got out of the Luton and said, "Are you delivering to here as well?" And I said yes. And he then just proceeded to go to the back of his van, lower his tail lift, open the back, lower his tail lift, get his pump truck to take off a pallet, and then walk that into the place that I was going to. Now, I don't know whether he's aware of this or not, but the forklift driver could not do his job offloading me until he'd moved his van, which basically meant I was now waiting for this Luton van driver to get finished before I could get offloaded, which I thought was reasonably rude, because all he had to do was back up to a couple of meters to give room for the forklift driver to get access to the back of my van. But he seemed to have he didn't bother asking anybody, he didn't bother, thinking about it in my mind, he just carried on doing what he was doing. So he went his merry way, getting his pallet off, pump trucked it into the doorway, came back out, put it up, and off he went. He didn't say a word to me after that. He didn't apologise, he didn't say, "Oh, sorry, is that you?" or any sort of joke. So I was a little bit annoyed about this. But I realised I can't take that onto my forklift driver, because I needed him to help me do my job. Anyway, the point is, if the Luton van driver had just used a little bit of common sense and courtesy, he could have got us both offloaded at the same time and wouldn't have delayed him at all. If he'd parked 2 meters further back, we could have both done our work. But no, he was more concerned about being right behind my van, giving him those 2 extra meters. He didn't have to take his pallets. Now, I think my perception of this is it's thoughtlessness rather than malice. I don't think he actually meant to be an arsehole, but it came across as being an arsehole because he was focusing completely on what he wanted out of the situation and not what he was then preventing other people doing. So I thought, well, I've just observed that, I'll share that with you guys, but I can't let that ruin my day or make this any worse. I just have to wait till he's finished. So I waited till he's finished, he went off, and as soon as he went off, the forklift driver who was waiting came out and took the load off of me. So in the end, I was probably delayed by an extra maybe 10 minutes at most, maybe not even that, because of the van driver's behaviour. And mainly I was delayed because the on-site was so cramped and they couldn't get the forklift out because the technician was parked in the way. There's a lot going on, a lot of people's judgments. I just felt that if I'd been in that situation, I'd have been really mindful of the other driver that ran before me and I'd have found out what was going on before I started doing my thing. Or if I was going to carry on doing my thing, I'd have pulled back and so it didn't interfere with their job. Just a different way of looking at other people, isn't it? Being aware of your surroundings. So anyway, that's my observation. I've shared it with you. I'm on my way now to Oxfordshire. So thank you for listening to that bit of a moany ramble. Hopefully you get the point that why can't people just be a little bit more mindful of other people's wants and needs in life? That's what I'm saying. And just be a bit more aware, open-eyed, considerate. It doesn't take anything. We could have both of those at the same time easily enough. Okay, I am going to move on with my day. I'm still looking to be finished. Well, I'll be looking to arrive about 2 o'clock. I'll be off-site by about 10 past, I reckon. It's only 3 boxes to deliver to my last stop. So I'll let you know how it goes today. Cheers. Right, it's now just gone 3 o'clock. My first move today was a defensive move to stay roughly where I was. I went from my drop-off location at 2 o'clock back to the nearest town, went to the supermarket, and I stayed there to get a bit of food and to have a look for jobs. That in total took me around about an hour to get from my drop-off to this point in time. I dropped off about 2 o'clock, and that defensive move has been not particularly helpful. So my next move is to be I'm doing a bishop's move diagonally north-east from where I am towards Northampton. Now if I get all the way to Northampton it's an hour and a half, but I'm going to go via some good places. I'm going to go via Brackley, Vista, Toaster on the way up to Northampton. So I'm going to look out for jobs on the route, and hopefully I'll get something else. Staying where I was wasn't really working. I've been on a couple of jobs, but I didn't get any of them. So I gave it enough time, and now I'm going to move away from Oxfordshire towards Northamptonshire. It's very windy today as well. Just in case you can't really tell from what's on the screen, but that has been a bit awkward. Driving it's been a bit awkward. Offloading was a bit awkward. So yeah, hopefully I'll get something. I have got a job for tomorrow morning, which is an okay job. Gets me into a pretty decent end point in the late morning. So hopefully tomorrow will be decent. And if I just get a little £60 job today, I'll be happy with that, or even £50. Okay, I'll update you as and when things change. Cheers. Right, YouTube. I've decided on a course of action that I'm feeling very hesitant about already. A job came up from Banbury, which is on my route I was on, going to Bedford, which is taking me sort of towards home, for a long best friend job. It was 54 loaded miles, and I went reasonably cheap, but it's £60. And I've subsequently found out it's about 45 minutes away, about 25 miles drive. And the guy rang me to offer me a job and said, have you seen it's got handball? Which I hadn't seen, and I went back and had a look at the notes, and it's basically taking about 30 bags of post, which involves putting them from a trolley into my van, from my van into a trolley. And the guy on the end of the line was absolutely happy to give the job to somebody else, and I did say I'd do my best to do this. I didn't feel I could ask for any extra money because I hadn't seen the note on the system, and in the end he said, are you really sure? And I said, at the end of the day I need the job. I'm doing this absolutely because I need the work, not because I want this particular job. And so I'm on my way now to Banbury, and I'm getting quite anxious about the amount of handballing I have to do. The only thing that I'm sort of trying to say mitigation is I'll take my time. I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to arrive at just a tad after 4 o'clock, and the booking requires a 4 till 5 o'clock pickup. So time isn't really a problem for me, and I'm just going to hope that the trolley isn't close. I may even try and wag some help putting them on my van from wherever I pick it up from. I mean, it may be possible at the place I'm collecting from, because that may be, for example, a business who are sort of giving their post. They may well have people there to help. I suspect that at the other end, though, when I'm dropping off in Bedford, I suspect there won't be much help there. So let's see how this goes. I really couldn't bring myself to refuse this job. It wouldn't have mattered to the guy that I was talking to on the phone. He couldn't care less. But I just need the £60, and it's the first time since I'm aware of my physical limitations that I've taken a job on, and I've decided to take on a job I probably can't cope with just for the sake of some money. It's not a habit I want to get into. It's not even that much money, is it really? But it makes a difference to my day, possibly my week, if I do this job. But yeah, anyway, so I have a bit of anxiety about this. I'm just going to sort of take it really easy, and I'll let you know how it goes at the other end of this job. Yeah, okay. If it goes wrong, it's completely my fault. But I can't blame anyone else for taking on this. But I feel that it's what I should. I feel like I need to do this for whatever psychological or economic reasons. Okay, right, I've picked up my job from Banbury. It's 12 post bags. I got some help in my van, and so I should be okay. They weren't that heavy, to be honest. So I feel a lot more confident now about the delivery. I've got to deliver them hopefully into a trolley at the other end. But the main reason why I'm talking to you this is, does anyone else do this? If I go to a depot which has a gate with a button, and I press the button and the gate opens, even if nobody is spoken to, maybe it's just silenced, I always say thank you to the button or to the perceived camera that is looking at me. Now, does anyone else do that? I'd find it really rude to not thank effectively the button that I've pressed, or the person behind the button, if I was waiting. If I come up to a gate and it opens automatically, I probably wouldn't do a thank you. And obviously if it's a person that answers, I'll say thank you to the person who's entered the button. So it's that time where you press the button, wait for a few moments, and then the gate opens without anyone saying anything to you. And I always think there's going to be someone on the other end of this button, and I bet they don't get thanked most of the time. So that's what I do. Who else does that? Okay, 6 o'clock, and I'm on my way home now. That drop off was actually okay in the end. I've been there a few times before. I know what to do, and I just got myself a trolley, put the items in the trolley, took it to the place where they leave them, which is just by the door, and then got someone around to sign for them, took a photo, and I was off site. So it's really difficult when you first go because no one's there to tell you what to do. But once you realise that is the way it works, it's reasonably easy just to get that done. So the 12 bags, putting them into a trolley, and I walked the trolley about 5 metres, then left it there. So that I can cope with that. So in the end, my anxiety was unnecessary. And I've got my stats for you for today. So overall, I'm happy with today's outcome. It's a situation where if I could do this every day, I can make a good living. My average fuel price for this week is 13.41 pence per mile. Today I have driven a total of 319 miles, 319. By the time I get home, I will have worked a total of 9 3/4 hours, and my gross earnings from the 2 CX jobs are £260, 260. And my fuel, which is less than I thought it was going to be, is £42.78. So I'll round that up to £43, which means that my net earnings today, after taking into account fuel, comes to £217, 217. I've got my job for tomorrow morning, and I'll speak to you again then. Thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope that you are all being successful. Have you choose to find that word for yourselves? Farewell, friends.